Well, Akaeka, help me pick up some of the pieces where things are standing. So I think Thor is with Guardians of the Galaxy now, and not with the Avengers. Is that right?
Yes. Pretty much at the end of Endgame, he comes to the realization that he's not a king. With him killing Thanos the first time, it not per se widened his gaze, but it made him realize that with no one to rival him, no one to keep him motivated, he had no purpose. Sitting at New Asgard, which was just, Ireland or Scotland, and just watching over his people just didn't do it for him. It really wasn't really a challenge. He's a warrior. Warriors can't sit on a throne; they have to be on the front lines. So yeah, he joined with the Guardians of the Galaxy because he knew that with them, they'd go out back in space and kind of do all kinds of different space adventures. So I think that if they do another Guardians of the Galaxy thing, that he will definitely probably be with them. And the fact that Peter Quill and Thor, their chemistry was pure romance. It was beautiful.
I love how you describe that. Now, what does that mean for the Avengers? Will they have? They'll have a new generation of participants, I believe. What's her Scarlet Witch will be in there. Eagle, Eagle dude,
Falcon.
Falcon. Thank you.
Which, if I can possibly predict, he will no longer be Falcon. He will be the next Captain America.
Okay. Will Ant-Man join the Avengers?
I don't think he really left. He just kind of was always arrested on house arrest, so he didn't really get the chance to actually go out. I mean, you think of like Tony Stark. If he gets arrested, he buys his way out of jail. Like, there's no stopping him. Captain America, you have to catch him first. Like all these other big bad guys, they had, all these superheroes had ways of actually going out and doing all these different things and not getting arrested. Even the Scarlet Witch, she went overseas to see, to live with Vision and stuff like that, to be escaped from custody from, the Accords and everything and such. Ant-Man didn't have that luxury. He kind of got stuck on house arrest after Civil War, and then during the Infinity Wars, he was, in a completely different dimension. He's just often in the wrong place at the wrong time when everybody else is doing something important. So, right. I mean, if the Avengers call him, he's not going to turn it down.
Right. So we've talked about Hulk, we've talked about Thor, we've talked about Falcon, Ant-Man, Scarlet Witch. Who else is going to sort of at least be there for the start?
Well, I mean, as far as the Hulk goes, though, the one thing that I was concerned about with the Hulk is the fact that they made him in Endgame, the version of the Hulk that we saw when he was, Banner, that actual official title for that Hulk was actually called Professor Hulk. Throughout the Marvel Universe, he has many different names and many different versions of himself. Professor Hulk was, the Hulk that we saw where he was both Bruce Banner and the Hulk, the strength and the brawn, but the lesser of both, I guess you can say. Because if you remember, like Bruce Banner was very shy, collective, to himself, but he was straight science. And then, of course, Hulk is Hulk smash. You put those two together, you have a quick-witted, witty, I'm just going to play it by ear kind of guy. Which, those two personalities coming together to make that personality, obviously some senses and powers were a little dulled a little bit. But I feel that if things would have worked out between X-Men and the Marvel Universe, that could have been a whole different story altogether. in the comics with old Logan, when Wolverine is much older, all the other X-Men are pretty much dead, and the world is in like post-apocalyptic. The Hulk actually owns like a majority of the United States, where he's actually married to his cousin, who is the She-Hulk, and they have kids, and like a very Hills Have Eyes kind of moment. They have these very unnatural born children, and they are cannibals in a sense, and end up eating Wolverine. It's a very dark comic version, but that version of the Hulk is definitely in the future and stuff like that. So I don't know exactly how he's going to play. I know in most of the actual animations, Old Man Hulk is usually just this old, like he's permanently Hulk. He has long, white, tattered hair, um, just a shadow of what he used to be, and just kind of keeps to himself, living in caves and so on and so forth. I feel like that's eventually what it's going to turn out to be. It's just him kind of being isolated. Um,
Right.
that's just how I see things moving along with the Hulk. With everybody else, I mean, we saw Captain America pretty much hung up his shield, handing it over to the Falcon. The Winter Soldier, I think, is going to probably take a page out of his book. He's eventually just going to not want to do things towards Endgame. You saw him not wanting to really do anything. He was quite content just working on the land at Wakanda. But Spider-Man's definitely going to take up the next pages. I think Clint Barton is probably tapped out at this point in time, wanting to spend some time with his family. Which, with all the major people kind of off doing their own things now, the new generation is where things are really going to get interesting. So it's just a matter if they're going to actually incorporate brand new superheroes, or if they're just going to do their spin-offs and just leave it alone where it's at and just call it a successful series.
Right. And how do you feel that Wakanda is going to play a part in the new phase?
I don't think it's going to do much more of a face than it already has. I mean, at the end of Black Panther movie, they opened up their gates and said, "Okay, listen, Wakanda's not some backwater country now. We are actually the forefront of technology," and they reintegrated into the world. Kind of kept a lot of them held back in a sense, kind of step by step. But I don't really think they're going to be too much of like, oh Wakanda. It's going to be there. It's not going to be like, okay, everything's going to be based around there. It's just another location that is now accepted.
Right. Right.